The story you're about to hear is true, only the whiskey makes it sound better. I operate on the west side of Richmond, Virginia, where private eyes keep their eyes out for loose women, and private dicks keep getting arrested. It was a dismal, thick kind of evening in late October. I was in my office, thinking about how to promote legendary members. Outside, the darkened city was all quiet, just the occasional song and dance number from a jerk splashing about in rain puddles. The door opened, and in walked a dame. She was a redhead, with wings. She walked through my door like a tigress walks into a Burmese orphanage, red hair and the kind of curves that if you were a car, would make you want to hug the road. No dame her age could afford a set of wings like that, and the makeup she had on confirmed her identity. She had bad news written on her like October of '29. Project Legends was born that night.
Hey, Amy Rose, how are you doing today?
Great. Thank you for having me here today.
Oh, no problem. So you are the founder of Virginia Free Farm.
I am, yes. I've been farming for about 20 years, but a couple of years ago, we kind of switched modes and decided to make it a nonprofit. And we actually don't sell any of our food anymore. It's all completely given away to the community.
Oh, so I didn't even know that. I thought you guys maybe separated it where you have the farming as a business and then the nonprofit. So you guys went completely nonprofit.
Yeah, we are completely nonprofit and all volunteer led and have a pretty robust network of other business owners in the area that actually help us with the mission.
That is excellent. So how did you guys decide? So you've been farming for 20 years. How did you decide to shift from farming, for having a for-profit farm, to providing the community with exactly what it needs?
So it's kind of funny. There was really no rhyme or reason that we did it. We just decided one day. We had so much. I didn't have a lot of time because I also work full time and I own a business. And I just decided that I wanted to keep doing this, which is how we got volunteers involved. I wanted to keep growing, rather, sorry. And we enlisted the help of a lot of volunteers, and there was huge support from the community. And we just decided to turn it into something good. We had so much abundance from the land here that we ended up turning it into kind of a regional seed bank. We provide plants and chicks and ducks and food, everything that somebody could want to either consume or be able to grow for self-sufficiency, completely free of charge. And all of those volunteers and the community partnerships have actually empowered us to be able to do that.
That's really amazing. And something that I like that you guys do is you'll see a lot of nonprofits, and they're doing good work too. So I don't want anyone to think that I'm saying that, but a lot of nonprofits, they provide food, which is also necessary. But in the grand scheme of things, it doesn't help in the long run. You guys have a different mission attached to also providing food, is that you guys teach people and provide people with seeds so they can go ahead and be self-sufficient, so they can grow their own food, so they can have their own livestock. Could you tell us a little bit about that program? And then could you tell us how that ended up getting started?
So that was kind of the original idea, as well as getting all of the extra food out into the community. I guess for me personally, it kind of takes shape for each one of our volunteer members and board members a little bit differently. It's all very personal. For me, I mean, my father's family is Abenaki, and food was used as a weapon of war against Native people. It was used to exterminate us. So food sovereignty was really the idea, and being able to check out or create alternative modeling to the prevailing like big ag and the food system that we live in. So there was a lot of different reasons. Part of it was environmental concerns. Having a smaller, tighter food footprint and keeping the food local is obviously great for the eat. We all have to eat. We all have a fork. We've all got to live on healthy land. So the food sovereignty aspect was personal for me in that respect. We actually work with 3 of the federally recognized tribes here in Virginia on their food sovereignty programs. And also the Richmond Indigenous Society, which is a kind of a collective membership organization of tribal diaspora from all across the US and South America. And then we also work with ladies getting out of the Department of Corrections and people in rehab to be able to grow their own food, and individual families. Actually, none of our individual families even need us anymore. During the pandemic, when the supply chain problems in the food supply became really evident, that was when we really got a lot of families involved with providing free plants and chicks and seeds and everything. And by July of that year, they didn't need us anymore, because in the interim, after we provide these things, we actually we're providing both bottom up and top down support. Because like you said, if you only provide top down support like a food pantry, it doesn't really fix the problem. It's like, for lack of better words, it's like putting a Band-Aid on a bullet hole. You know, if you don't actually address all of the things that are going on, you're not helping anyone in the long term. And long-term success is what we're aiming for, because it's not feasible really to be able to provide food for people ad nauseum forever. That doesn't work, and it doesn't help them either. And a lot of these folks, you know, we help put urban gardens into some of the housing projects in Richmond City. And in doing that, it was great because the community was involved, and they are the ones that are ultimately going to be stewarding the urban farms. We just helped with plants and seeds and kind of like ground prep. And in going there and working with these folks, you know, I was talking to a mom and her kid that was there helping us pull weeds after I had helped with getting all the bricks and glass cleaned up out of the beds that we were preparing. And she was like, this is great. You know, when things are rough, I don't like going to the food pantry. I think there's this assumption of what folks are going through or what folks' attitudes are. And there's this othering that has happened. And a lot of times people that are a little better off or more well off view these folks as wanting to be dependent. And that's not the case at all. Because I was talking to this mother and she was like, this is great. I would much rather be able to do this myself. I don't want to go to the food pantry. It's embarrassing. And I think that there's this disconnection that we have as community members or people, where a lot of people stop seeing these other folks as human and prideful and wanting better. And that's that's what we're trying to fix too, is kind of strengthening the fabric of our community to uplift each other. And in doing so, it's probably not going to help. I'm probably not going to see the changes in my lifetime. But if we are not making these decisions and acting with intention to build a stronger community for our children and our grandchildren, then we have no right to be making decisions at any level, because that's what's important. It kind of is like that cliche saying of community prospers when old men plant trees they'll never see the shade of. And so that's kind of what we're trying to do.
Okay. And I think that's excellent. And I know a lot of times people have been talking about this big pushback against how helping people is done, because we're in this era where people will give someone food on the street, but they have a camera strapped to them. And essentially it's making someone pick between their dignity and accepting the help. So I do think you guys do an excellent job of allowing people to keep their dignity intact and teaching them and showing them the way of how they can be self-sufficient. Now, part of what you're doing as well is using indigenous techniques such as controlled burns to tend to the land and teaching people the indigenous techniques with farming. Could you tell us a little bit about that? I know you yourself your father's, you said your father was, sorry, which tribe?
We're Abenaki and Penobscot.
Okay.
Which is all part of the Wabanaki Confederacy, which is many, many different tribes and bands, but it's all the Dawnland people from Maritime Canada and New England. Okay. And so, we are actually using, I guess swiddening is what it's called, if you look up the definition. So it's basically controlled burns. We obviously can't wrangle wild game through areas to do the whole traditional circuit that the land was used to be tended to. So what we do is, we've got chickens, we've got ducks, we've got turkeys and pheasants, geese, and goats and pigs. So what we do is actually kind of march the livestock through different areas. I'm sorry, I talk with my hands.
No, that's fine. I do too, so you're fine. No.
So what we do is kind of a modification of that. We do some forest farming. We have a sugar bush here. We've got perennials, both medicinal perennials, wild edibles, and we steward our forest area like a garden. And we also use that as a means to provide firewood for those in need in the area as well, with the help of the Rotary in the area. We cut the wood down, stack it, and they come pick it up and deliver it to those in need, because believe it or not, there's actually a lot of houses here that are on wood heat, and it's older people. So that helps with our forest garden management. But then in the garden areas, what we do is we run our animals through so they do their duty, for lack of a better term for that. Then we let it grow up and we will burn it down. I generally wait until a January or February day when we've got about a 2 or 3 mile per hour wind. You don't want to go over 4 because it gets a little scary. Even though I do cut the perimeter and then wet the perimeter. I used to be a firefighter in a former life. So I'm very careful about that. And I stay there with it as, as fire boss for the whole time to make sure, because Native people actually are working in California with Cal Fire right now to help prevent forest fires in the future. They've enlisted the tribes there to kind of do that. And it's great because a lot of their wild edibles come from the forest too. And if we have habitat destruction, those things go away. So it's really important to make sure that we take care of those things. So we burn it down, and that does 2 things. Well, the animals fertilize and then eat bugs. And then the burning actually kills all the weed seeds. And we get a good burn going because we wait until it's about knee high. So there's a lot of vegetative fuels. And so we have a lot of potash being naturally added to the ground from those green materials being burnt and then absorbed after the rains. So it fortifies the ground. That helps. We don't have to buy chemical fertilizers, and it kills all the eggs and larvae for the pests that are in the area as well. So then we don't have to use pesticides, which is great because I have children, and they're out there. They will literally pull food out of the garden and eat it. Dirt on, doesn't matter, which is great.
Which is great.
Yeah, it's really great. But yeah, and then we rotate, and then we use, I strategically use beans to add nitrogen, fix nitrogen in the ground around other crops. And we don't have rows of, you see like a Rockwellian farm with rows of perfect vegetables. We actually use intensive polyculture. So when you come to our farm, the garden is a jungle, but it's done that way on purpose. And to both keep pests from decimating whole areas of gardens and use those plants to work in concert with one another, like the beans, fixing nitrogen. And we actually use trap crops as well, to keep them away from the crops that we want. And then we've got, we also have gardens for endangered seed cultivars that might have been more common 100 years ago. A lot of them are tribally affiliated plants or sacred varieties that are used for ceremony that are endangered. And we use those to cultivate large quantities of seeds for these and then provide them to other reservations. We provide seeds to Black Yield in Baltimore, Blacks Organizing for Self-Sustainability in St. Louis, El Departamento de la Comida in Puerto Rico. They go everywhere.
They go everywhere.
Yeah, we mail them out free of charge to anyone that's growing for mutual aid or for self-sustainability. And we try to get those endangered seeds into the hands of as many experienced growers as we possibly can.
That is absolutely excellent. This is really, really good work that you guys are doing. I'm really happy that you're providing this for the community. So speaking of community, Smoke and Bacon is all about community. They're the social media platform that focuses on getting people into communities, people who are like-minded, to grow and share and to exchange ideas. How has Smoke and Bacon helped you grow the nonprofit?
So actually, Smoke and Bacon is one of our biggest supporters. Man, I can't even thank them enough. This sounds so cheesy, and I'm sorry if I'm talking. If I'm talking too much, please yell at me or tell me to keep it shorter. But seriously, so here's a sad fact. This is a sad truth. We get more hate mail than we get donations or help.
Really?
Wade and Smoke and Bacon, like Wade and Lindsay, have been huge supporters and kind of cheerleaders for us in the community. It's awesome. And last year, I was talking to one of our board members, and they wanted to start doing a community fridges program. I have 3 kids. We do have a lot of amazing community partners like Smoke and Bacon that make our lives easier. Like, we literally could not do what we do with all of these businesses that are helping us. Smoke and Bacon actually being one of the biggest ones that helps us constantly, like every month. So I guess there's like community fridge programs in Louisiana and Brooklyn. I think there's one in LA, but I might be wrong on that. But there's precedents for it, and it's been helping communities because a lot of times, like the woman that I was talking about that said she was embarrassed to go to the food pantry, these kind of help mitigate that, and they also help with our homeless population that just needs to grab it and go. You know what I mean? And it kind of lends a little bit of dignity because they can go pick up anonymously. Nobody's asking them for their demographic info or their name or hassling them. They don't have to see another person if they don't want to. So I don't remember. I think it was the same day that was brought up or floated. And I was thinking, oh, gosh, I'm so busy. I have 3 kids, I have a job, and this nonprofit that literally is another full-time job for us. And I did a little bit of searching around on Instagram, of all things, searching hashtag community fridges, and found this girl, Taylor Scott in Richmond, that hadn't yet launched the fridge program that she was just starting to evolve and dream up. But she had started a community page for it on Instagram. Message, 15 minutes later, we're on the phone for an hour and a half, had it all hashed out. She's going to do this thing. I think, floated it on Facebook asking some questions. And within a matter of minutes, Smoke and Bacon stepped up and pledged to provide a free community fridge every month for a year. He asked us how much we needed to get a refrigerator off of Facebook Marketplace. I got with Taylor. She gave me a number, and Wade ponied up. He literally put his money where his mouth is. But he also helps us in a bunch of other ways. A lot of it's just like awareness and trumpeting what we do on social media. It's amazing how powerful social media has become in our age. It's crazy. I mean, I mean, I'm in my 40s. So when I was a small child, this stuff didn't exist. So it's amazing how powerful it is now. But also, he literally has come out, and we do a fundraiser. It's like a sexy farmer calendar. And basically it's just all of my friends' husbands and boyfriends coming out to take their shirt off. He's even done that for us. Like volunteered, no hesitancy. He just steps up to the plate whenever we need him, and it's fantastic.
That is absolutely amazing. So Amy Rose, what is next for Virginia Free Farm?
Oh, you broke up there for a second.
Break up.
I didn't hear what you said.
So what is next for Virginia Free Farm?
Oh man. You know, okay, so in my day job, my real job is I'm the director of farmer training from Future Harvest. So I train farmers from Delaware to West Virginia down to North Carolina. And recently I got a grant for training BIPOC farmers in agricultural leadership to become the next generation of not just farm workers, policymakers, stakeholders, agricultural leaders.
Yes.
Because if we're going to change the food system, we have to change it from within. Frontline activists are definitely necessary. Organizers that support in the back room, like what Wade's doing, organizing and supporting people, definitely necessary. But we have to get into places of power and decision-making capacity. And we have to bring each other in. So what I want to do in that is kind of roll that education into what we already have on Virginia Free Farm's kind of knowledge building library, is kind of start marching that material over into library and create, I guess, a catalog of videos that you can self-paced learn and get yourself organized into and learn without having to pony up thousands of dollars for an education in these things, because there's a lot you can actually do just with teaching yourself. So if we can make more accessible the knowledge, because, you know, they say knowledge is power. It needs to be, I really believe that the future is open source and collective and community driven. And so if we can find the time or help or resources, if anyone wants to volunteer, let me know, to really aggregate all of this information, we can make great strides in changing all of this. The next, I think, we actually have been in contact with Desmond from the Nansemond Nation. And I think we're going to start trying to, once he gets permission, put another food sovereignty garden into the Nansemond Nation's area. So I think that'll be really great. And this coming year in 2022, we're really going to hit it hard with the MLK garden. We have an MLK garden behind MLK Elementary in Richmond City. And we are going to be building out, we just started the garden, it's in its infancy in 2021. So next year, we're going to be really building out the Africulture garden, the Mesoamerican garden, the Caribbean garden, and the Native Cultivar garden, and also a meditation garden that is in memorial to Duke Oliver Hill, who was part of the legal team from Brown versus the Board of Education. And we're going to have that as an intergenerational learning garden for the community. We're going to get people out from the community working in it, because there's value in grandma working with a child in the neighborhood. It kind of creates an intergenerational knowledge transfer, or an intergenerational repository of knowledge to be transferred from, you know, it doesn't have to be that child's grandma, little lady in the neighborhood. I had lots of little ladies in the neighborhood and aunties and grannies that took care of me when I was little. And I learned from them, and we need to create more of that, because what I'm seeing when we're going into these neighborhoods is that people aren't out and about. They don't know each other, because part of that's because of the pandemic, of course. We're going to be practical. It's outside, it's open air, so it's safe. But part of that is just connecting people together and in good food, or getting good food into these kids, because, you know, I do ag classes at schools and in after school diversion programs. And some of these kids don't know what a radish is when I hold one up, or what collard greens are when I pass them around. And they'll ask if I can, or they can eat them. And I'm like, yes, of course you can eat that. I wouldn't give anybody anything poisonous. Yeah, it's crazy. It's so crazy. So if we can get these kids more involved, that would be our next big thing for 2022 and 2023. And the educational aspect to lift up. Our goal would be like 20 somethings and 30 somethings. Okay. You know, that's who we'd be targeting, to really start getting them connected and getting their voices elevated and heard, and getting them involved with stakeholder committees for even just state departments of agriculture, or go into town halls, go into open committee meetings. If we don't speak now, our voices are not going to be heard.
That is so true. Amy Rose, you're doing such an amazing job. You are really helping the community, and you're helping the community in a way where people just haven't seen this before. Because it's always about giving, and giving is good, but you're doing more than giving. You're giving, and you're providing the community a way to be self-sufficient and to break the cycles that keep them tied down. So thank you so much for doing this.
No problem. Thank you. I get more out of it than they do, I think.
Oh, I understand.